Hey everyone, it's Spencer here, and before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to just highlight a couple of things that are going on with Link Whisper. Link Whisper is a new WordPress plugin that I launched a few months ago, actually at the end of July of 2019. And over the period of time, we've received a lot of really positive feedback. People are enjoying the features that allow them to build internal links much faster, much easier. As you're writing a blog post, there's link suggestions that are automatically created, and it's easy as checking a few boxes to add those internal links. So it saves you a ton of time. Perhaps an even bigger feature is that it allows you to add inbound internal links to a post that you've just written. So if you have a post that doesn't have any links pointing to it, you can very quickly get suggestions and add 5 or 10 internal links pointing to that particular post. But one feature that we just came out with is the ability to do a keyword search for those inbound internal links. So if you wrote an article on Canva review, for example, which I did for nichepursuits.com just recently, I could do a keyword search for the term Canva, and Link Whisper will pull up all of the places that I've mentioned Canva, all the articles that mention the word Canva on Niche Pursuits, and then as easy as just checking a box, I can add an internal link to that Canva review article from a relevant, keyword-rich internal link from another post, saving me tons of time that I might have had to do to Google which articles on my site mention the keyword, going in and editing, etc. Overall, I just wanted to tell you that I'm really excited about the progress we've made on Link Whisper. I have tons of new feature ideas that I plan on coming out with, but it's been very well received, and I hope that you'll consider checking it out and saving yourself some time if you're into that sort of thing, building internal links on your website. And if you are, you can go check it out at linkwhisper.com. Again, that's linkwhisper.com. Thanks for listening in, and we'll jump into today's episode. Hey everyone, it's Spencer here with the Niche Pursuits podcast, and the entrepreneur for this episode really needs no introduction. Pat Flynn from smartpassiveincome.com is back on the Niche Pursuits podcast. Pat and I have known each other for about 10 years now, and he was a guest on my podcast over 7 years ago, which is kind of hard to believe that it's been that long. We both got our start in blogging around the same time, and I was on his podcast several years ago. Because Pat is so well known, I tried my best to ask different types of questions that he might usually get during this episode. I didn't want to rehash any of his early history because that story is so publicly known. I wanted to dive right into what's going on in his business right now and what decisions he has made that have led him here. We specifically talk about his decision to start selling online courses, and you can hear how well that has turned out for him. A couple $1 million in 2 years from one course is not too shabby at all. I'm particularly interested in this subject because I recently made the decision to stop selling online courses altogether for my business, and so it's great to hear Pat's contrasting opinion. However, beyond just why he is selling courses, I wanted to find out his bigger picture. Where does he envision smart passive income in 10 years or 20 years? Will it ever exist without Pat? Could he ever sell the business or walk away completely? We also dive into what his next venture might be that he's considering after he is retired, and I put that in quotes, from smart passive income. Don't worry, he's not looking to quit anytime soon, but it's an interesting topic to discuss. Overall, Pat shares lots of great tips about big decisions, how his team is helping him reduce stress and get more done, and figuring out your why beyond just making money. With that, I hope you enjoy the interview. Hey, Pat, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
It has been a long while. And in fact, I wanted to take a quick walk down memory lane with you. Did you actually know that it was 7.5 years ago that you were on my podcast?
That's insane, dude. That was before my daughter was born. That's crazy.
Really? Yeah. So you were episode number 7. and I looked it up, of course, but May 21st, 2012. So a long time ago that you were on the Niche Pursuits podcast. I mean, I can't believe that it's been almost 8 years that I've even been podcasting, let alone since you were on the show. So then I was on the SPI podcast, episode number 66. And here's a little factoid that nobody else knows, and perhaps you don't even remember, Pat, is I was scheduled to record on your podcast on April 15th, 2013. However, something happened that morning that made us reschedule. And the only reason I remember the day is because that was the day of the Boston Marathon bombing. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do remember that. Yeah, I didn't remember that as a reason why we rescheduled, but were you supposed to run that or?
No, it's just that you and I both had friends, I think, that were running the Boston Marathon, and it happened that morning, and we were both kind of like, I'm not sure how we feel about recording. Let's just reschedule. So kind of crazy. Just a little factoid about you and I recording podcasts back in the day. So
yeah, I mean, all that to say that was a long time ago for sure, and I have since done much, much more, and I know you have as well. I'm trying to think of what was going on back then. I was just starting with the food truck niche site, and that was kind of up and running, and the security guard training niche site had been on autopilot for a couple of years at that point, and hadn't even had my own courses yet or books.
Right. I know. Yeah, it was knee deep into the building niche sites. Yeah, probably the food trucker, and certainly a lot has happened since then. And so I really just kind of want to catch everybody up with where you're at now. But before I do ask about sort of the business related questions, I wanted to ask you maybe a more lighthearted one, perhaps. You know, you've been a very public person. You've always shared your income reports. What's kind of one of the strangest things that's happened to you in public or otherwise happened because you've been so public with your income in the past?
I mean, with my income specifically, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just one component of why people choose to follow what I do, because I'm just, in general, very transparent and open about my entire process. You know, the podcast has since grown quite tremendously. We're closing in on 70 million downloads now.
Wow.
And it had just started sort of a couple of years before we last connected. But that has helped massively grow my brand to a point now where I'm getting recognized for my voice. Like I'll be ordering something at Starbucks and a person will go, "Oh my gosh, are you Pat Flynn?"
Really?
Just because of the voice.
Wow.
And that's often very strange because I don't think that's a usual thing to happen. And I have been recognized in public. Like I'll go to Disneyland and somebody who's like wearing a Han Solo outfit will come up to me and be like, "Yo, Pat Flynn, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm at Disneyland with my family. What are you doing here?" He's like, "Cosplay, baby." And I'm like, "Okay." Crazy cool people out there who follow the brand, and I love it. And just, you know, and they're always mostly very respectful of the fact that I'm usually out with my family, so they just want to say hi and thanks. And it's not like bombarding with, you know, sign this or
Right.
pictures or anything like that. But I think the other coolest thing that has happened is just the opportunities that have come my way as a result of the show and my business and getting on a lot of people's radar. I've been able to become a background on some movies.
Nice.
Like, that's kind of weird and crazy. I had done social media for a company who was creating independent movies and films. And as a result of that, I had been a part of a couple of their projects, and they found me because of just what I had built online. And so, yeah, like new doors always opening, and it's just kind of unreal. I think the latest, coolest, randomest thing that happened was I was able to get on stage at a Dave Ramsey event. And then I was with the speakers the night before, and I opened the door to the restaurant that they kind of had for all the speakers. And then there Dave Ramsey was, and he just kind of welcomed all of us there. And I had never met him before. He's such a cool guy, but like never would have thought that I would have ever met somebody like him, and to be so welcomed into his community, it was really amazing. So yeah, just a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, a lot of awesome things, being able to, just have your name out there and be willing to share and be open and honest. Obviously, that's a huge part of your brand and has led to a lot of success. So congratulate you.
Thank you.
On all of the success. You know, I applaud you. I follow you. I love what you're doing, and I love the success that you're having for sure. So
Thank you.
So we've kind of talked about where we were in the past, you know, back when we recorded. I want to sort of skip the whole story. And I think most people probably listening already know your story. They listen to your podcast. So just catch us up with where your business is right now and what are you focusing on these days?
Yeah, so I currently have my hand on a number of different businesses, completely separate businesses, actually. A lot of the niche site stuff has just been on autopilot for a while. I'm actually in the middle of sort of exiting those and selling those off completely, just to kind of wipe my hands clean, because I have since grown quite tremendously from scrappy entrepreneur, little projects here and there, to CEO of my company, and really thinking much bigger and more long term. I have a team now, which is another big part of it. I have 7 people working for me full time on my SPI Media brand. And that is tremendous because so much stuff is getting done now, and we're able to produce and create and ultimately serve a lot more people now from what we're doing. A large part of that business is selling courses for things that people have asked us for information about. First validated through a lot of the free content on the podcast and the blog, and then turning it up a notch and turning it into much more premium programs for people who want to invest and go deeper with us. And we've since made a few $1 million off of course sales, which I've only been doing for the past couple of years. It's taken me a long time to get to that point where I was actually comfortable with course sales, because a lot of my income was coming from affiliate marketing. So I was actually pushing a lot of people away to other people's products, making a little bit of money from commissions on that. But then eventually a lot of people were just like, Pat, we want to learn from you. Can you create a podcasting course for us? You keep sending us elsewhere, but we want to learn from you. So, that, to give you some perspective, that one podcasting course has accounted for $2 million in sales over the past couple of years.
Wow.
And we have 5 different courses running now, ranging from affiliate marketing to business validation and just finding your niche to an advanced podcasting course. We're in the production mode right now for an email marketing course. And the cool thing is, it's just we don't have to be aggressive with selling them because people are asking for them. And that's quite amazing. So the SPI Media brand includes those courses, podcasts. More podcasts are coming on the way that aren't even going to be led by me, but hosted by other people, but in the SPI network, which allows us to get access to advertisers who want to, sponsor podcasts across the board for us. And that's income generation. And then partnerships with key partners such as ConvertKit for email service provider, Teachable for online courses, Buzzsprout for podcasting. So within these courses, we have partners that we're really and heavily involved with that are adding to our income as well through just the commissions that are made through people we send that way. So it's kind of a win for everybody. And we're able to provide the best information about those topics on the web now. And stepping into that and owning that has been really key for just mentally how to best promote and push these out there and create for people. So that's one business. Another business I have is sort of an offshoot of what happened in the podcast space on my brand. In 2014, I created a podcast called AskPat, which was initially 5 days a week. And we just needed a way to beautifully display these multitudes of podcasts that were coming out on that show on the website. So we created an in-house podcast player, and it was just built for us. But then so many people, especially my podcast listening audience and podcast creators, were asking how they can get their hands on it. And so, as you know, and as you could probably tell, great business opportunity. So we turned that into a WordPress plugin that has now since served thousands of people. And it's $97 a year to get access to. And it's beautifully able to display a person's podcast on their website, also collect email subscribers, allow for more downloads, more interaction, more engagement, more sharing. And it really focuses on the web side player versus the sort of device side of playing. And that's where we noticed a hole. So that's been focused on quite a bit. And that is generating about 15 to 20K MRR at this point, monthly revenue. And it just continues to grow, which is pretty amazing. And we're leaning into that next year. We hired a development team recently, and we're going to be adding more solutions, software solutions for podcasters, since podcasting has just massively exploded. And my podcast course is definitely the most popular one as well. So we're definitely leaning into that, and those two things can cross promote each other. But that's a separate business, separate LLC with a partner on board with that. Earlier this year, one of my experiments, I love to run experiments. Back in the day, it was niche sites, and recently it's been much bigger experiments. My videographer and I, we invented something, and we pushed it out on Kickstarter in February of 2019. It was an idea that actually came about as a result of going to a video event and seeing everybody struggle with their bendy tripods as they were vlogging. And we just thought there could be a better way. We prototyped a number of different iterations of solutions. And over 2 years, we finally came up to a prototype that worked, that was tested, that we got a lot of feedback from the YouTube and vlogger community. And we launched that on Kickstarter in February of 2019. And nearly 5,000 backers and $500,000 later, that product was validated. And we recently just shipped it to everybody and got it in their hands. And that product is amazing because it kind of sells itself. The video community all love to share their tools with each other, and they go out and film with each other. So when they see somebody using this sort of innovative tripod, and the way it works is it stands on its 3 legs, but then the legs can swing together to turn into a handle so that you can easily grip and do sort of like a vlogger view and have the camera a little bit further out from you. And then just in a snap, it can open back up again. People just are buying it, and without spending any money on advertising at this point. I mean, we're selling 10 to 20 units a day, and that's going to ramp up once we get onto Amazon and that the sort of deal. But I mean, we are cash flow positive, delivered to all the backers, and have inventory in hand. That's all profit at this point if we get it off our hands. So that's
awesome.
been going really well. And then I'm just the usual stuff. Like now I'm writing books. I wrote a book in 2016 called Will It Fly? It became a Wall Street Journal bestseller. My recent book called Superfans just came out. It's like now this is in Barnes & Noble and it's in airports, but it's still self-published. So we kind of cracked that code. And I've been doing keynote speeches and being asked to deliver keynotes around the world and getting paid to do so. It's kind of, man, I'm having so much fun. And the beauty of this is I'm still able to spend a load of time with my family and help my wife and take time off if I need to, if we just want to do something one day or 1 week. And really the passive income part of it is now a result of not just tools and automation and SEO, bringing people in like it was with the niche sites, but it's team, it's hiring managers that know how to make things happen. And then also just spacing out all these things amongst each other, because it does sound like a lot, and it is, but it's managed properly so that I still have some time.
Right. Awesome. Congrats again. You've got a lot going on. You've got your hands full, obviously. And I do want to dive into some of this, specifically like your team and things going forward. But I wanted to ask you about the courses specifically.
Yeah.
Because even though our businesses are, quite different, we do have some similarities in that, we both have popular blogs. We both got, podcasts. We kind of gained some popularity with doing, public projects. However, we both came to kind of a decision of whether or not to sell courses. I've sold courses in the past as well, but I recently made the decision I'm no longer going to sell any courses. I want to just focus on other things. I wanted to get out of the training business. And then alternatively, obviously, you've mentioned that you decided to sort of lean into selling courses and training even more. You've got, I think you said 5 premium courses now and a couple of free courses. So
yes.
2-part question. Why did you hesitate to sell courses initially? Because I know it did take you a number of years to come to that decision. Or I guess just why did you make the decision to sell courses and are obviously growing that significantly now?
Yeah, I mean, I had actually been asked to create courses, even the last time we connected, I had a number of people say, Pat, you should create a course on this and create a course on that. I mean, funny story, I almost created a course about niche sites, and then Google made this giant algorithm change. I think that was when like Panda came around or something.
Panda and then, or Penguin probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, I can't build a business that is going to be changing like this. And I'm really glad I didn't do that. And I think a large reason why I just felt not so good about it, because in the back of my mind, I knew that I was building that course because just it was a money opportunity. I knew that it would sell. I had the successful niche sites in under my belt, and I knew that people wanted similar results, and I knew that I could give them results, but then I knew that also Google was making changes, and it just felt like the purpose of that course was to make more money, not actually help people. And that's never a great way to approach business. Every time I've tried something like that, I tried some software stuff back in 2010 for the same reason too, and it just never worked out. Every time I've created something from a position of serving first, that's always allowed for maximum success. So, all those signals combined, I just kind of put that aside. And then, for a while, people continued to ask me, and I just always knew that there were other solutions that already existed that I could push people toward. And I was kind of quite happy, making a majority of my money through affiliate marketing where, technically I could just send people to somebody else and then they would have to take care of them. And then customer service was all handled by them. And I knew that if what I was promoting was good and that they would take care of my people, that it was kind of a win for everybody, and that I could just continue focus on providing free, valuable content and teaching the steps. And then in step 3, teaching the tools that they could use. And that's how they would get into that. And that worked for so long until, I had many conversations with people after getting asked time and time again from people to create my own courses. Like, okay, should I really be rethinking this? I have, I've been experiencing what it's like to have team members now. I think I could do this. That all kind of started in 2014, hiring a team. It was mostly me for years. It was 6 years of all me, only me, until I finally started hiring. And I felt the power of that and how much time I could get back. That kind of opened up the idea of, okay, maybe we can create some courses and support people. But again, in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't need to. And I don't want it to be a money grab. I don't want it to be done just because I can make money. And I had a conversation with a couple friends who both said the literal same thing. They said, Pat, you are doing your audience a disservice by not having courses. And I said, what do you mean? Like, there's people out there who can learn, who can teach them, and likely it's already proven and they've got the systems down. Like, why do I need to reinvent the wheel and create something similar? And they said, no, you're doing your audience a disservice because they want to learn from you. They don't want to learn from anybody else. And when you ask people to put skin in the game, to invest in themselves with these courses, they are more likely to get a result. They would say, yes, you're great at coming out with a lot of this great free content. Some people are going to use it, but most people won't. And I really resonated with that because I knew that things that I got for free, I never really put into action. And so it was kind of a mindset flip where I could actually get more results from people by charging them. Mm-hmm. And it was a result of allowing for them to be served better, to have skin in the game, such that as a byproduct of servicing them and the investment, I would be able to generate more income. And I wanted to test that out. So my first course was called Smart from Scratch. It was actually a result of people who bought my book, which laid out the entire start to finish how to validate your next business idea so you don't waste your time and money sort of thing. And yet people still wanted handholding through it. So that to me, I was like, okay, even though I give away everything for free and all the information is right there, they still want accountability. They still want to go deeper. They still want handholding. So that was sort of like, okay, check mark number one. Yes, that makes sense for me to create a course. But check mark number two, can I even get people results with a course? So I filmed this course. I actually pre-sold it and we sold about 100 seats in. So that validated, yes, people wanted it.
Yeah.
But I was really more worried about, okay, could I even get people a result? So I worked really hard and I built the structure of the course out in a way where immediately after a couple of weeks, I started to see people and get messages from people saying, I am further along than I ever have been for the last 5 years trying to do this. And that to me was like, whoa, this validated what all my friends said. Let's get people some results. And so to be able to get people results and make money at the same time from people who would normally not get results at all, man, I just went full into it. So my next course was a podcasting course, and we pre-sold that, always pre-sold the course to validate it and fine-tune it with those beta students to get it to a point where then I can launch it publicly much bigger with testimonials already was the formula. And that's what I talk about in my book, Will It Fly? But it's always worked out now. And like I said, millions of dollars have been made. But more than that, more importantly, more and more results have come than the years of just free information that I've shared out there combined. So that's really why I lean into courses. And apparently I'm pretty good at it. I can structure a course in a way where I can take something very complicated, make it very easily consumed, but also I can get a person results very, very quickly with it. And now we're at a point where I didn't mention this earlier, but we're actually doing a lot of live workshops in San Diego where, for example, if you want to take my podcasting course, cool. But I know a lot of people don't have the time to spend to go into a online course. They'd much rather learn in person. So then I can actually go, hey, if you got my course, awesome. But if you don't find that you have the time, let me walk you through it in just 2 days in San Diego for $4,000. I mean, and we got wait lists like crazy for that. So this business model of training is definitely something I'm leading into. I know we're good at it. And eventually I want to get to the point where now these training sessions in person are even run by other people outside of me so that, they can just kind of run on their own. So it's really amazing to see. And again, it's all results driven. And that's the primary reason why we're leaning into it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. If you're able to produce results for the students that are going through your courses, I know that, I don't know what the statistic is, so I'm not going to throw it out there, but, a certain number of people never actually go through the course. But it sounds like you've been able to design the courses that certainly encourage people to go through that. And if they're seeing results, I think that's the most important thing. Are they getting the education? Are they getting the results that they need from those courses?
Right. I mean, we do some things in the course specifically to know where people often get stuck and how to get them out of that. Yeah. So that's important. We do a lot of social proof within the course. We almost kind of sell the course inside the course using success stories from our students. And I think that's a smart thing to do versus just here's all the information, go. It's like, hey, here's the information and look what Sandy did to do it and how she grew her podcast, and you can do this too. It just is more encouraging. And then more than that, I think, the completion rate is really high in our courses because of the price point as well. The higher premium price point commands a higher quality student who's actually going to be more invested and actually takes that action. And it's interesting because I know a lot of people who sell courses for, $27 and nobody's completing them, and they're getting hordes of customer service questions because people expect sort of like overnight success or push button easy results versus somebody who's invested, they're usually a higher caliber student. And for me, another mental shift was going that price point because I was like, no, I want to create a course for everybody. I want it to be affordable for everybody. But again, same reason, you get the students who actually take action at the higher price point. And for me, I was okay with that because I know that I'm not taking anything away that I was already giving away for free. You could still look on YouTube to see how you might be able to create a podcast from my free material. But if you want to invest and you want to get the details and really the ins and outs and go deeper with me, that's where the course comes into play for those who are willing to invest in it.
Yep, I think that's super smart. Now, I've kind of made the decision in my business. Like I said, I'm getting out of training. I'm focusing more on software and building other sites. I've, acquired a couple of sites, and I know we haven't caught up, a lot, but I've got a lot going on as well. I, built an Amazon FBA business and sold that and done
Nice.
a lot of other things as well. So I've gotten out of the training and doing a lot of other things. And now it kind of sounds like you've chosen an all of the above approach, which is kind of how I feel my business is too. Like should I just do this thing? Should I just do that? And it's kind of like an all of the above. You're doing the online courses, you've got software, you've got the books, you've got, the other training, live workshops. Is that kind of how you feel? Is like you're kind of choosing all of the above? And is it because of your team that you're able to do that?
It's definitely because of the team. I don't think it's all of the above. If it was all of the above, it would be like selections A through, Q. Versus what I feel is like maybe A to E. So I'm selecting the top things that I know are working. And beyond that, I'm doing some other things that are high leverage, like I'm advising some companies, and I'm also angel investing now as well.
Awesome.
Which is a part of it too. But it's just, where am I most interested? Where do I have the highest leverage? And it's more of a own, not run situation, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And that idea of, building the pieces up front so that they can be run by somebody else. And that's ultimately where I want all these businesses to go, outside of my own personal brand, which is obviously just going to be me at patflynn.com, which is going to be built out later. And really my sort of legacy related to putting entrepreneurship into schools. And that's something that's really important to me, and why I'm leveraging team and why I'm leveraging automation on a lot of these other businesses. But no, not all of the above, but definitely a lot of the above. I'm saying no to a lot of opportunities though. And when you get to this level, there's good things and bad things. And one of the bad things is just you get so many people wanting your attention and so many opportunities, good and bad, that you have to really put your filter cap on to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And I got in trouble, or in the mid teens of the 2000s of saying yes to way too many things, and potentially even almost getting burnt out. And that's very common for people like us who have a lot of irons in the fire, and a lot of those irons are working, because then, okay, let's keep adding. Right. And I think that I could learn from you, from maybe even pruning down a little bit more or handing off things even more, so that I do have even more breathing room. And I think a large part of it recently has been the kids have been now old enough to go to school, so that I'm kind of like back in the saddle, versus me cutting a lot of things off my plate in 2015. And then focusing on just kids, and then team after that.
I totally get that. My youngest is now in full day kindergarten. He just started this year. So we've got an empty house, and I feel like I can get a lot more done during the day because I work from home here, obviously. And so I know what you mean about kids being in school. So let's take a kind of look at the future of smart passive income. I mean, it's clear that you're growing. Your team is allowing you and other people to, help grow your business. I think that's super smart, and people can learn from that, especially on how to grow beyond just a single person blog to a much larger business. Mm-hmm. So if we were to take a look into the future and see what SPI looks like in 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years, what is the grand vision of SPI?
Yeah, and this is very top of mind because we are actually on our way for the future of SPI very purposefully. And so here's how it's going to be structured actually later this year, if not already, by the time you listen to this, we'll have a new website. And that'll be great because the last website iteration, we did not have courses. We did not have products. And so everything that's been added on after that has just kind of been Frankenstein placed in there. And now we are designing a website that supports the courses. And really what it looks like in terms of the front end is we are creating what's called these guides that are multi-blog posts, essentially almost like a book on a particular topic, on something particular, like an email marketing guide. And it might be 5 or 6 chapters in length, all separate blog posts, which target a sort of specific segment or specific subtopic of email marketing for SEO purposes. So that's going to draw a lot of people in. That those become sort of our, hey, if you come to the website, like that's the number one thing we want people to do, is to get into a guide. The guide then leads people into a cheat sheet or a lead magnet of some kind, so we can collect their email. We'll know a little bit about them already because of the guide that they'll be getting that lead magnet from. And then we can sort of walk them through a process to understand what their next steps might be. And one of those next steps may be getting into our course related to that topic as well. So the funnels and the design of the website are going to definitely be more complementary. They're kind of like fighting each other in the way that it is now. But on a high level, here's what's going to happen. For 10 years, SPI has just been me. And I am the sole creator there. And even though I had a team, I'm still the face and the only face there. But we are going to change that, by which there will be new characters coming on board who have their own specialties, their own expertise to then share and become the face of the brand with me. And so the analogy that we like to use is sort of like the Avengers, right? Like it started with Iron Man and it was just Iron Man. And then later on, you started to see Hawkeye and Falcon and Hulk and Black Widow, each with their own specialties now that then become the Avengers in whole. And so we can sort of become our own experts in our own little vertical within SPI. So maybe one day in the future, there's going to be a video person who, when you go to that person's guide, it's not me, it's Caleb, my videographer, and he will have his own course in the SPI network or under SPI Media, but it's not me anymore creating that course. It's Caleb, and he's creating the videos, and we do like a little partnership with him. Maybe one day we get into, I don't know, software development, and I'm not an expert on software development. I have software, but I'm not an expert. But we bring somebody on to partner with to become a part of the SPI network who is an expert and wants to become the face. And maybe they're an up and comer who has a little bit of a blog and they have this expertise. They're just struggling with finding an audience and reach. Well, guess what? We have that. And we can sort of, with our powers combined, we are Captain Planet, and we can put our forces together, and we can build out this such that now I am just, I'm the founder and CEO, but I have one of many. I am one of many characters involved in the SPI network, and this is what's going to allow me to spend less time there overall, so that I can focus on these bigger goals I have about education and the education system here in the U.S., which is where I want to focus sort of my later years in life. And I want to start that now. And that's really cool because then worst case scenario, let's say something happens to me, I get hit by a bus or I die. Mm-hmm. Well, now the company lives on. Whereas right now it's like, if I die, SPI dies, and it shouldn't be like that. And it can be built to sell. Built to sell is a phrase used to build a company in such a way where it can be run on its own, such that it is attractive to a buyer. Not saying that I want to sell it, but when it's built that way, it becomes efficient. It becomes like a well-oiled machine, and it becomes something that's not, just solely relying on one single person and one single person alone. So that's kind of the future of SPI, which, you'll see me being more active on my personal brand at patflynn.com, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about the education stuff, parenting, technology, Tesla, other things that I'm really interested in that I want to talk about that just SPI isn't really made for. So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, this is way different than what I imagined when I first started out. That's for sure.
I think it's awesome. And you kind of touched on a lot of the questions I was going to ask, honestly, here. So I want to spend the rest of our time kind of talking about these because that's always, I've been very curious, what your grand vision is. And I think you're doing a really good job. I mean, I can see it from the outside. You started to bring in a team, and, it's clear that you're getting a lot of people to help, and you're able to step back a little bit. And I think you're making a good transition of doing that.
Thank you.
And I don't know exactly what that looks like. At what point are you able to step back completely, right? In terms of the one thing that I would say is the most difficult is your podcast, right? Do you ever step back from your podcast? I mean, if you wanted to retire and focus on these other goals that I actually want to talk about a little bit that you have, what's your vision there to, would you ever step back completely? Would it just become a different podcast? How would that work?
I mean, I think the SPI podcast would become the one of several podcasts on the SPI network, but I can't imagine walking away from it right now.
Sure.
Although I could build it for that and have somebody else come on to sort of support the role that I was doing, but it would become the brand would become less reliant on just that one episode. And I would want to still be a part of it, even as we're building it as such, to a point where I could potentially walk away if I wanted to, but I am not going away from the podcast. I'm not going away from the brand. We're just sort of allowing for more people to come in to serve the audience and hopefully grow the audience much bigger and attract different kinds of people who want to learn about these other topics and learn from the experts on them. And I am not the expert on all things. And that's the other part about this. Like, I did pretty good about talking about several different topics leading up to this point, but to grow bigger and help people even more, I can't possibly, and I'm not qualified to, talk about real estate, which is a topic that a lot of people have been asking me about. Like, Pat, I'm in real estate. Like, can you give me some tips on this and help me kind of understand what my next steps are? And I'm like, no, because I don't have that expertise. But if we had a real estate person who was like, I don't know, Mark, who's the SPI real estate guy, and he had his own SPI real estate show and he has his own SPI real estate course, well, then I can easily go to Mark, And then if Mark needs help with podcasting, well, he can come to me. Or if we need help creating videos for our courses, they can go to Caleb, et cetera. So I think we'll be able to create a better solution for people and take care of people even more, because I've definitely been stretched thin trying to help everybody, and I can't do that anymore. But I'm not going anywhere, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just kind of curious, thinking about, at what point do you start thinking about retirement, right? And that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I wouldn't call myself old just yet, but it's been 17 years since I graduated from college. I've got teenagers in my house now, and so I do think it's a good idea to think about when it is appropriate time to retire and leave my business behind, right? I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of exits, right? Longtail Pro. And then, like I said, I sold an Amazon FBA business a couple of years ago, and that's helped pad my retirement, pretty well. I don't think I'm quite at the point where I could just walk away and not worry about any money at all, but I do kind of calculate what it would take to just kind of walk away and not have to work and think about business at all and just focus on other things in life. And, since you've been really public in the past about sharing your income, obviously, I know that you've probably got a decent nest egg saved up, and maybe at the point where you could be thinking about that, right? You don't have to worry about money so much. So do you ever think about early retirement and just walking away?
Yeah, I kind of almost feel like I'm already early retired, to be honest, because I love the work I do so much. And I know that might be a cop-out answer, but it's like, they say if you love the work you do, it never feels like work. That's not true. It always feels like work, and it's struggles and it's ups and downs. But to me, I enjoy it so much that I could potentially imagine continuing to do what I do and just loving life and being completely satisfied. Although, like I said, I have bigger goals, and this has become an amazing launching pad for even bigger, more impactful things. And that's truly what I want.
Yeah.
And so
let's talk about those. What are your goals? What are your passion projects that you want to focus on outside of business?
My kids are very lucky that they go to a school where they teach entrepreneurship. They encourage that kind of learning. And to me, to see the impact that it's had on their lives, it's just been really eye-opening, because it's very different from how I went to school, how my wife went to school, and how most kids are in school. And they're equipping themselves for a much more successful future, and to be able to help even more people and to be great citizens, and especially with where things are going with technology and just where the world is headed. I have a huge passion right now to see what I can do to be an agent of change in the world of education. And specifically, I think my sort of platform for that will be, hey, all kids need to learn entrepreneurship. Reading, important. Math, important. Science, absolutely. Entrepreneurship, of course. And I want entrepreneurship to be a subject in schools just like those other ones. And that would be the goal. And so far in my work in that space, there's just a ton of red tape, a ton of politics, a ton of government, all those kinds of things that would impede that and make it very difficult to do. But I'm up to the challenge. I also know there's other ways that we could serve kids in potentially after school programs and things like that to help them focus on entrepreneurship and learning those things. But, honestly, I'm not here to convince everybody to become an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I want kids to know, number one, that is an option. But number two, just the skills you learn as an entrepreneur, as you know, Spencer, and as many of your audience knows too, they just equip you for life in general. Whether you become an entrepreneur or not, maybe you can become an amazing employee who knows now how to build a personal brand within the workspace to position yourself so that you can have a happier workspace, more money in your pocket, to better communicate with team members, to learn from your failures, to present your ideas to strangers and people that you don't even know. My kids at the age of 6 and 7 have already gotten in front of panels of judges to present ideas and to learn what it's like to fail and to learn what it's like to work through mistakes and then come back even further on the other end. And it's like so valuable. And I've seen it already. And I want that to be for every kid. And so, the analogy I like to use is like, I don't know if you know Walter Isaacson. He writes several different biographies. My favorite one is the Benjamin Franklin biography. We know Benjamin Franklin for a lot of things, education being one of them, actually. That biography, when you get to page like 70, the biography is like 650 pages long. By the time you get to just page 70, he's already 40 years old. And I'm almost 37 years old at this point. And so I'm not even at 40 yet. And I know that I have much more of my biography to be filled out with a lot of these important, impactful things that I could be remembered for, that I could have an impact on to serve the world, to serve my kids and their kids and so forth. That's what's important to me. And I think that with the reach that I have and the stepping stone of SPI, I might be able to do some amazing things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I love that you're thinking about that long term, kind of what's next. And I don't mean to sort of insinuate at all that, SPI isn't a focus, but, as I sort of think about what's next in my life, after sort of my active business pursuits here, it's great to sort of hear your thoughts and what you're doing. So is that something that, to sort of get education, to promote education, whether that's in schools or elsewhere? I mean, have you formed a foundation? Would you form a foundation? Would it be a nonprofit effort? Like, how do you envision that?
Right now, it is kind of up for grabs, but it is potentially any, or if not all, or maybe just one of those things. I don't know. Right now, it's about educating myself about how things work and connecting with people. I mean, connecting with people has always been the answer for everything related to my business. I know it's the answer for this as well. And so I've just been putting myself in situations where I could get to know people who are making an impact in this industry already, who know a lot more than I do. And whether that's being a part of Future the Classroom here in San Diego, to being on the board of Pencils of Promise, which helps build schools around the world. We've built several schools in Africa already as a community within SPI, but then, have had a lot more impact in that world too since then. And just kind of just immersing myself. And I can only fully immerse myself if I fully outmerse myself with SPI, right? And I know that,
right?
But it's going to be multi years in making, but it starts now. It doesn't mean I can't focus on just what I can focus on now, and I've already started to do that. So connections and just kind of learning more is really what I'm into right now.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, entrepreneurship is such an amazing thing. It provides so many opportunities, not just financially, but able to connect with other people and then hopefully do some good in the world. And I love that you're thinking about that and what your future is going to bring. I expect to see a lot of good things. So people can follow along at patflynn.com, it sounds like, for a little more insights on that down the road, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. patflynn.com I had for 6 years. I bought it off another Pat Flynn after several back and forths. And since then, it's just been driving people back to SPI.
Yeah.
But with the SPI website redesign also comes a patflynn.com redesign where you can start to see a lot more of these themes come out and, likely evolve over time, but got to start somewhere. And I'm excited to start this new journey.
Absolutely. No, that sounds good. I would be remiss if I didn't ask two questions. I did sort of poll my audience, and there was a lot of questions that people wanted to ask you, but I did just pick two. So just shorter questions that we can answer here as we start to wrap up. So one question that a lot of people were interested in is, if you were to get started in affiliate marketing from scratch right now, what would your strategy be?
So strategy would be number one, pick a target market and learn anything and everything I can about what they need help with. What are their problems? What are their pains? And more importantly, how are they describing those problems? Because that will allow me to communicate back with them once I find solutions. And then number two, figuring out what products make sense to help support them with that. And then building an interest list, perhaps on a landing page without even having a website yet, just to start to let people know that I'm interested in finding ways to solve those problems. And so it might start with whatever I'm interested in at the time, or just what's trending in the news, or where I'm hearing people might need help. It will likely be a sub niche within a niche that I might already know about or have connections to, because that way you can become a little bit more specific and a person can know whether or not they are in the right place with you or not. Because when you get sub niche, you get to really, really getting into people going, whoa, you must be the person for me. It's why you see all the different kinds of runnings of shoe stores at the mall. There's like 15 different shoe stores because people have 15 different needs for their feet, right? Mm-hmm. So I would approach it that way. And then number one, and then after that, really getting in tune with either getting access to or even buying a product that I know could potentially serve them if I don't already have access to that. And then just going all out, trying to become a voice for that brand on behalf of them to promote that product to this audience and this interest list that I will have built, and just learning everything I can about what their needs are and supporting them with that for free, and with these affiliate commissions coming in from products that I would recommend. And then going step two, okay, now that you've done this or accomplished this or have access to this now, what else do you need help with? What's your next round of problems, or what's your next goal? And then just kind of continuing to add on to there, so I can take this one person through a journey of several different steps and or products. And then as a byproduct of serving them in that way, hopefully earning a commission on the side.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think those are great tips. And then the other question from the audience here is, how do you handle stress in your business?
Large amounts of stress are not getting to me because it's handled by my team. So I have a COO, a chief, operations officer, who is the one who has been tasked to manage a lot of the fires that might be happening in the business. And I got to tell you, I pay him well, but it's worth every penny to have a Matt. His name is Matt.
Yeah.
And, these are otherwise known as, project manager, perhaps an online business manager, OBM, or integrator, somebody who can kind of do a lot of those stressful things in terms of connecting everything together to support you as the visionary in your business. There's a book called Rocket Fuel, which is great. That describes that relationship between the visionary, perhaps you as the entrepreneur, and the integrator, the person who's actually doing and managing all those things. And those people do exist. So that's number one. Number two, things do get to me. What really helps me is just kind of like zooming out a little bit from all these little specific things that might be bothering me and just looking at overall things that are still working, things that I can still be grateful for, or things that, help me understand that, well, nothing's going to ever fall apart completely ever. And so that just puts me back on the ground, puts things back into perspective, and then I can just consciously handle those things when needed. Sometimes I do need to take a walk, or sometimes I'll need to take a break. And I think that's important too. I think we can often get stressed if we're working hard on something and it's not working. We just kind of push harder into it. But sometimes you need to walk away and then come back a little bit later. You can come in with a different brain, different mindset, different positioning, different perspective to sort of tackle whatever it is that problem is. And then finally, just, I think the meditation that I've been doing lately, I've been on a pretty good streak of meditating every day for even just 5 to 10 minutes. That just allows for breathing space in my head to not ever get stressed about things that probably don't require being stressed out about. So yeah, all those things combined has allowed me to be pretty level-headed and grateful with where things are at, even if not everything is perfect.
Yeah. They're very good. So now I want to give you a chance to just share whatever you want. I've asked you lots of questions. Do you have anything that you'd like to share, or any final business tips or motivational advice that you'd just like to offer?
Yeah, for me, once I started to get in tune with my 5 to 10 year plan, it really helped me understand the work that I was doing today. And I think for a long time, I was sort of in the 1 week to 1 month plan. And when I got out of that and started thinking, to yearly, number one, in my business specifically, we started to feel a little bit more breathing room in terms of, well, what are we creating? What are we promoting, and when, and what content? I never felt like I was on the content hamster wheel when I was thinking about a year ahead. But then 5 to 10 years are more life goals, right, and the legacy goals like I just talked about. And that has allowed me to go, well, what am I doing in my business today to get there? And this is where a lot of the conscious action related to SPI and the way it's structured or will be structured has been coming into place. And it's really exciting. I think it provides for purpose. It provides for direction. It provides for excitement about the future and something much bigger than beyond myself to build for. And I would just encourage everybody to, as much as we're planning next week or next month, scope out a little bit, plan your next year, and then, really ask yourself and perhaps the loved ones around you who are going to be involved with you throughout the years, where do you want to end up? Where do you want to go? Because I think if you don't know that, then, well, what are we doing today and why? So know where you want to go. And I'd love to dig in a little bit deeper into you, Spencer, at some point and catch up with you just kind of off the call to know kind of where you want to go and what you're thinking about doing. Just congratulations to you and all your success and what you've built for yourself. And I'm excited to see sort of where you put your next efforts into and how you, enjoy life even more from what you've built and the hard work that you've done. So congrats to you too.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's so important to be thinking big picture. I love that we're able to dive into sort of your big picture, your 5-year, 10-year, and longer term plans. Like I said, that's things that I've been thinking about a little bit more. And I think people listening in like to hear that, know where smartpassiveincome.com is going, what Pat is up to, and that sort of thing. So overall, just thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts, answering a few questions. And if nothing else, it's been great after 7.5 years to finally have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, man, let's not wait so long to connect again.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you,
so,
buddy.
Yep. Thanks a lot. People can check you out, of course, smartpassiveincome.com and patflynn.com. So thanks a lot. Thank you once again for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. As a reminder, this episode has been sponsored by Ezoic. Ezoic is a Google award-winning technology that everyone from niche website owners to major brands use to grow and monetize their websites. Ezoic is a Google certified publishing partner. It's a platform that leverages artificial intelligence to help you optimize revenue and monetization on a per visitor basis, and so much more. If you want to check out Ezoic, go to nichepursuits.com/Ezoic. Again, that's nichepursuits.com/Ezoic. Thanks a lot.